It's Thursday, the 22nd of February, 2024. Welcome to the Fast 5 Business News by Fear and Greed, where we give you the top 5 business stories you need to know in just 5 minutes. I'm Michael Thompson, and good morning, Sean Aylmer.
Good morning, Michael.
Sean, 5 stories in 5 minutes. Let's get going. Story number 1, the CEO of Woolworths, Brad Banducci, stepped down unexpectedly yesterday. Comes just days after he stormed out of a Four Corners interview on ABC and ahead of the supermarket's appearance at a Senate inquiry into grocery prices.
Mr. Banducci, who has been in the job for 8 years and is well liked by the investment community, stressed it was a retirement rather than a resignation. And Woolies chair Scott Perkins said it had nothing to do with Mr. Banducci's appearance on Four Corners this week. If you didn't see it, he was on the show on Monday night and was highly critical of former ACCC boss Rod Sims. He then asked for his comments to be deleted, to which the reporter said they're on the record. He then stood up and left, all in front of the camera. Anyway, the timing is awful for Australia's largest retailer, which is under all sorts of pressure and accusations of price gouging. Having a CEO say he's stepping down looks bad, even if he intends to stay in the job until September. He'll be replaced by Woolies veteran Amanda Bardwell. She's going to have a baptism of fire, not unlike Vanessa Hudson faced at Qantas when Alan Joyce stepped down, Michael.
Yeah, indeed. Sean, there's plenty to unpack in this, and we've got to do it quickly. Is it good news for investors? And I suppose the other kind of stakeholder in this, what about customers?
Well, Woolies share price fell 7% after the announcement, so investors aren't happy. Mind you, it made a loss also yesterday for the half year to December. For customers, there's going to be so much scrutiny on the sector at the moment that growing profits for the big supermarkets is going to be tough. There'll be pressure to lower prices for customers or pay suppliers more. Not sure if the customer will win out on that one, but someone will.
Okay, moving on to story number 2 now. Annual wages, Sean, grew at 4.2% last year. That's their fastest pace since March 2009, and it's well above the pre-pandemic average of 2.5%. This is all according to figures released by the Bureau of Statistics.
Australian wages growth, as measured by the Wage Price Index, rose 0.9% in the December quarter, with both private and public sector wages up by about the same amount. Now, normally private sector wages contribute much more, about 80% of the increase, because it's a much bigger piece of the labour market pie. But last quarter, the public sector contributed a much larger share, particularly in areas like health, education, aged care. As inflation has slowed and wages have increased, there's finally been growth in real wages. What that means is that with the money you take home, you can actually buy more goods as opposed to just have it eaten away by inflation. That should start to ease some of the cost of living pressures. The result is close to the Reserve Bank's forecast. It suggests that wages growth has peaked, also suggests that interest rates probably will be on hold for a while.
Story number 3, Qantas has appointed John Mullen, the former Telstra chair and the current chair of Brambles and Treasury Wine Estates, to be chair of the national carrier.
Busy man. He will replace Richard Goyder in one of the most blue-chip jobs in corporate Australia. Mr. Mullen said he'll be adjusting his other professional obligations to fill the Qantas role. The announcement marks the end of a tumultuous time for Qantas. It now means the carrier has a new CEO and a new chair. Mr. Goyder, former boss of Wesfarmers, came under enormous criticism for allowing former Qantas CEO Alan Joyce to sell $17 million worth of his own shares just ahead of an investigation into allegations that the company sold tens of thousands of tickets on flights it had already cancelled. Just one comment on this. I'm sure John Mullen is highly regarded and very capable, but really, do we always have to have the same bunch of directors getting the top jobs?
Yeah, indeed. Now, story number 4, Scentre Group, which is the owner of the Westfield shopping centre empire, really right across Australasia, said sales are up over the past few months and visitations are back well above pre-COVID levels.
Scentre announced a 42% drop in net profit. That was due to write-downs. That's for 2023. But overall sales were up more than 6%. Occupancy in the Westfield malls is now 99.2%. Not bad, including 307 new brands in the shopping centres last year. Customer visitation to the 42 centres was 512 million, up 32 million from 2022. Chief Executive Elliot Rassenau said Westfield malls were doing better than other retailers because, in part, malls are being used as free entertainment. The group share price finished up 3% yesterday.
Story number 5, and a pretty scary story, really, to finish on here, Sean. The US has told allies that Russia could deploy a nuclear weapon or a mock warhead into space as early as this year.
Bloomberg is reporting that Russia is developing a space ground-based capability to knock out satellites using a nuclear weapon. A nuclear warhead in orbit would violate the 1967 Outer Space Treaty, to which Russia is a signatory. The development comes after the US House Intelligence Committee chair warned last week of a grave but unspecified security threat from Russia. President Joe Biden later said that the Kremlin had been developing an anti-satellite space weapon. President Vladimir Putin, in response to all this, said that Russia always has been categorically against the deployment of nuclear weapons in space. Very scary proceedings there, Michael.
Yes, indeed. There we go. The top 5 business stories in 5 minutes. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you, Michael.
It's Thursday, the 22nd of February, 2024. Remember to hit follow on the podcast, and if 5 minutes isn't enough, you can find our longer daily show called Fear and Greed Business News wherever you listen to podcasts. And don't forget as well our sister podcast, How Do They Afford That? All about making your money work a bit harder for you. There's a new episode out every Wednesday. This week's episode is all about debt recycling, which is essentially an investing strategy that allows you to invest while you still have a mortgage. It's a really interesting concept and well worth a listen. I'm Michael Thompson, and that was the Fast 5 Business News by Fear and Greed. Have a great day.